to Damn Nature, You Scary on BET.
Damn, look at that son bitch go. He hauling ass. That thing come by my house, I kill it. That little rat looking thing just got ate. Damn Nature, you scary.
Action News Network is an Aboriginal American media network. As such, we are protected under the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, or DRIP, Articles 8, 14, and 16. Action News Network is allowed to provide Aboriginal news and media content on non-Indigenous media platforms free of oppressive censorship. Any breach of this protection is a breach of international law.
Standing still is hard. The animals, trap, trap, trap till the cages fall. The cages fall, the day is new, and everyone is waiting, waiting on you, and you've got time. Think of all the roads, think of all their crossings, taking steps is easy, standing still is hard, standing still is hard. Standing still is hard. Standing still is hard. Standing still is hard.
Let's put some gloves on.
September 2018, exactly 1 year ago, in the south end of Dallas, downtown Dallas, Texas, a 26-year-old Caribbean immigrant, one Botham Shem Ja, was on his couch in his Southside flat, eating ice cream. Little did he know, it would be one of the last things he would do in his short but very accomplished life. So how does such a mundane, innocent night of eating ice cream end in this man's death? Enter Amber Guyger, a 29-year-old, 5-year veteran of the Dallas Police Department. After a long shift of quote-unquote serving and protecting the people of Dallas, Officer Guyger also spent the better part of her trip home from work sexting her married sergeant supervisor. Somehow the combination of sexting and work fatigue led to Officer Guyger parking on the wrong level, one floor beneath her own Southside flat, and approached what she believed was her apartment. The problem here was, it wasn't her apartment, it was Mr. Jean. Now, up until the moment that she approached the door, the whole story is sketchy. Things get blurry as fuck as she approached the door. There are many conflicting reports from witnesses on what the account happened, but according to Officer Guyger, Mr. John's door was ajar. With her thinking it's her place, she immediately entered into cop mode and proceeded into Mr. John's apartment with no warning. Whether she believed that it was her place or not, no warning was given, and shot Mr. John as he was in the middle of enjoying ice cream. Let me say, this case seems stupid from the fucking jump. A year ago when this happened, it seemed in the fashion of your typical police misconduct cases. Stereotyping, fear of the big black man, reckless regard for life, no regard for life, unarmed, non-threatening victim. All the hallmarks of a Made for Black Lives Matter protest. But this one was especially heinous, as the cop was off duty. Mr. John was innocently enjoying ice cream in his home. He didn't call for police. Police wasn't called on him. He wasn't a suspect in the crime. This wasn't a search warrant or a bench warrant, no warrant for arrest. This wasn't a traffic stop nor a quasi-legal stop and search. This was an innocent man who lost his life due to no fault of his own. He lost his life because a person who was a trained, observant, trained to make life and death decisions in a split second, a veteran at doing this job. So all of a sudden, in front of Botham John's door, had a brain fart, a serious case of amnesia, and instead of the cop instinct kicking in, her inner scared female kicked in. I was a trained cop in the U.S. Air Force. My father's a retired New York cop. I know exactly what the procedure is and what the procedure is supposed to be for that situation. Cops are taught to assess the threat level and meet with appropriate force. This means if a perp takes a swing, you crack him with the billy club. If you got a knife, tase the motherfucker. If you got a 4-shot Saturday night special and feeling lucky, then he deserves the Beretta. You dig? But a bowl and spoon. What is the threat level response for some Baskin Robbins and a pink spoon? I have taken the test for multiple police departments. And all the first thing that they ask you on all these tests is your ability to assess, decipher, and your quick reactions. That's number one. The first section, or 90% of these departments' employment exams. They give you a picture of a busy area, usually some kind of emergency, with a trail of clues, or out-of-place people, or objects. They give you about 60 to 90 seconds to observe the scene. Then you have to answer a bunch of questions based on the scene. You can't look at the scene anymore, so you gotta rely on your ability to retain observations. That is not easy for everyone to do. Not everyone has this ability naturally. You could be taught how to do this, but before you become a cop in most departments, they at least want to know if you have this ability, and then they could teach you how to improve and master that skill. So when Miss Guyger, a veteran cop, says she can't tell the difference between her apartment and Mr. John's, you see where I might have a problem with that statement. If you don't, then you're a fucking idiot, point blank. And if you're one of those people who don't need and even can't cut it as a cop, don't even comment on this. Alright? You couldn't cut it in the military either. Shit, you couldn't even cut it as a decent security guard. You would fuck up the neighborhood watch. That's how non-cop material a person like that would have to be. If Miss Guyger seriously can't tell her apartment from another, not only should she have never ever been able to get a badge, but I'd advise anyone who ever been busted by this former cop to sue the department for incompetence. She can't pick out her own apartment, let alone pick out a suspect in a lineup. Like I said a year ago, it seemed like a typical police misconduct and disregard for not just black life, but all life in general. But like I said, the story was asinine, and it seemed like something was missing. Like, was she high? Maybe there was even rumors that they had to be lovers. And while her toxicology report doesn't suggest any impairment, or it wouldn't be on front page news, you know what I'm saying? And even if we get in the real toxicology report, who knows at this fucking point how much shit they covering up, you know? And concerning the relationship angle, there was like, like around his death, pictures floated around with Botham parading around with a couple of white girls, but I haven't seen a picture of him and Guyger together. You know what I'm saying? You know, and anything can be photoshopped, but there's no proof that I can find, and that's what I'm saying of this going on. Okay, so legally, but I still have questions to ask about the relationship. You know what I'm saying? But we'll get into that later on. So this case, since going to trial, just got like weirder and weirder. Like Jussie Smollett weirder. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna go there with this later on. All right. This case seems like something is missing. We're not getting the whole story. I'm convinced like there's a big cover up here. It's like buying a used puzzle set with half the pieces missing, or replaced with pieces from a completely different set. On top of the ridiculous story leading up to the event, the case also highlighted Guyger's character with her text messages and social media posts that showed questionable traits. For instance, her text with a friend. She basically, she was like texting to a friend, right? And she basically compared herself to a racist dog in these texts, which I'll show you in a little bit. With a co-worker, she implied that she didn't like working with black cops, saying she has a different way of doing things than they do, I guess. And that leaves questions like, what exactly does that mean? If with white or just non-black cops, she feels she can get away with treating people that, you know, treat people a certain way that maybe black cops may take offense with. Just something that you don't want to hear a cop, you know what I'm saying, if any race fucking saying. I don't care if a black cop says some dumb shit like that. Guyger's social media post suggests she's indifferent to death, joking she wears black in reference to her police uniform because she's dressed for your funeral. Distasteful for anybody entrusted by the community to use deadly force if need be. But this highlights cop culture and how over the past 40 years, as cities then we're like hitting rock bottom, and to today, where most large cities are safer than they ever have been, or at least way better than back then. You know what I'm saying? But over this period, cops has fashioned a culture of almost like a biker gang slash mobster slash, you know, mafioso brotherhood than the honest first responder, hero, yet humble culture that they represented in times past. In my father's youth, in the 1960s in Harlem, New York, the NYPD were more likely to detain a delinquent black youth and take him home, tell his parents what happened, and encourage an old-fashioned ass whooping. The cop cared more about crime prevention rather than earning points in his precinct stats. Fast forward to my youth, 1990s New York City, the NYPD would lock up an 11-year-old and put him in juvie for stealing a candy bar because they're under pressure to make arrests, not allowing the officer to police as an individual, yet as a drone following orders and on an incentive-based merit system. With that, do I think Amber Guyger is racist? No, and that's a light no. Not every white person makes insensitive jokes at blacks and others' expense, just like every black person make jokes at other races' extent, right? That's just humans, so you can miss me with that. That's just common sense. We can't point fingers and then, don't point fingers at ourselves. That's just how, human nature is. Guyger was definitely a cop culture jarhead, and as a female, I'm sure she had to prove herself more so. She's going to be the biggest jarhead, and the cop culture borders semi-racist to full-blown Klansman shit, depending on where you at. But like I said, Guyger, like most modern cops, under pressure to bring in quotas, make arrests, and have a good enough evidence for conviction, because your arrest to conviction ratios will get you promoted, uprise into detective. Departments won't teach this in police academy. Once you start training as a rookie with your partner, your brass and fellow cops, they will all give you the same advice. Blacks are more likely not to have access to legal counsel. Blacks are more likely to be found guilty by a jury. Juries are less sympathetic to blacks than whites, and this case was a perfect example of this. Cops know pulling over random whites will produce the same numbers in drugs, illegal shit, no license, warrants, etc. Even maybe more so. They know this, and they're not oblivious to that shit. They probably know it's more likely, that they'll find a shit with whites than they if they mess around with blacks. But they also know the chances of them having good lawyers and their lower conviction rates leads to these perps turning around and suing you in the city. So cops know it's a lot more work to lock up other non-black Americans or white people and shit than it is to lock our black asses up, right? And also Hispanics. You know what I'm saying? So don't get that fooled either. So it's not racism. It's big business, and that business is OG government. If you dig what I'm saying, right? Just to put it down in layman's terms. I don't want to go too technical and shit. Keep it simple. And the only reason John got some form of justice because he was like the one perfect nigga. Like Guyger could have did the same shit to me and got away with it because my background could be tweaked enough to make me seem like she was putting me out of my misery. But with Bo, nah, she killed like the one perfect nigga. Like the dude we wished other police shootings, happened to, because it would have been like a straight up conviction. This is that one guy. Not to wish death on anybody. And rest in peace, Botham. But I'm just saying, there's nothing bad you could say about him. And they tried with that weed shit, but that was unfounded. And it seems like Guyger might have been the one that might have been with the weed. And like, she Dave Chappelle sprinkled some crack on him, sprinkled some weed on him, some shit. I don't know. But continue. Never in my life have I been so pissed off at black folks than ever with this case. Alright, Brother John's family put the spotlight on the delusional cult-like mentality of most black Protestant Christians, and also the coon, I don't want no trouble immigrant Negroes. All right, to make it nice, to keep it kind of low PG right there. From Brant John, Botham's 18-year-old brother, forgiving her for killing her brother, and that's cool. It's okay. It's not my steez, but mature in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Very Christian of you, I guess. But hugging Guyger is definitely where I draw the fucking line. Alright? This was one of the most cool shit I ever seen in my life. How many court cases we see with black on black murder where black Christians don't forgive other black Christians, literally going to blows in courtroom. But when Becky do it, I forgive you, ma'am. Can I smell your hair? Hug you? What the fuck, nigga? Because you young, I'm gonna take it light. I'm gonna take it light on you. Cause I can go in. I can go fully in. You're still adult, so you're gonna feel some of this like smoke. Next, we got a black judge, and like I guess everybody was like, "Oh, happy day," singing and shit like that. Wrong, right? Because of course, nothing is ever in our interest when it comes to putting our people in positions of power. Okay, let me put it that way to keep it simple. There's always a pacifier. All right. Judge Tammy the Manby Kemp, and yes, we're coining that, she's Tammy the Manby Kemp, did something I don't think I've ever seen white judges do to other white criminals in court. This cool ass mammy done brought out the Bible, broke court decorum while reading Bible passages and crying even as she hugged Guyger, a criminal who killed a man that looks like her father. Could be her son, her nephew. She hugged her and at one point said, "I wish I didn't have to do this." Never in my life, I'll bet top dollar, never. She probably never said, I bet top dollar she probably never said that to anyone that looked like her and caught a bad break. I bet she threw the book at, I bet she threw the book at them. No hugs, no fucks given. Judge Tammy also tried to invoke the castle law, Texas stand your ground and your own domain law. Even though the innocent man in this incident didn't even happen in Guyger's home. But I guess because in her head she thought that she was in her home, she would get off. I don't really understand what that means. Understand that. Understand how serious it would have been if they would have let that law go through. If they would have said that, okay, because she thought in her head, you know what I'm saying, she was home. Like man, it makes my head hurt. Think of the problems that would occur if they let that fly. Like I can go shoot a nigga at the QT and say, "Oh, I thought I was home," and get off. You know, but well, not me, but like I guess future Guygers. But that's a bad president, though, right? Now the jurors, it was like 80% black, Latino. You could say half the Latinos would side with black, the other half may swing white. So like 70% of the jury might have, you know, been leaning black. You know, plus you had two whites. They looked like they were like super liberal, social justice warriors types, SJW types. So, you know, yeah, maybe like 70%, right? Slam dunk, maximum sentence. Nope. As you'll see, there was a bench whip and bench winch and or mammy on a jury who felt more compassionate towards Guyger.
A lot of crime.
Prosecutors were asking for 28 years. You all landed at 10.
I told everyone because we all agree that it was a mistake, and I don't think Bo would want to take harsh vengeance. I think he would want to forgive her.
Guyger shot and killed 26-year-old Botham Jean when she entered his apartment mistaking it for hers.
You can't compare this case to any of those other officers killing unarmed black men. Those officers that killed unarmed black men, when they got out, they went back to living their lives. Amber Guyger, she showed remorse in that she's gonna have to deal with that for the rest of her life.
Again, someone who could be her brother, her lover, you know, her son, nephew. She felt more compassion towards Guyger than Botham. I mean, she related more to gender than race. And this is the end goal of feminism, folks. When black women relate more to a white woman cop who acts quasi-racist, or at least is highly biased towards blacks, she felt for her over the innocent black man who died eating ice cream in his own home, who did nothing wrong. So we can thank Angela Davis for that. I hope you're proud. The prosecution suggested 20 to 28 years, which she'd probably be eligible for parole in about maybe like 15 years, in which I would have been good with. That's fair. You know she wasn't gonna get life or the fucking chair. You know, you can check your emotions at the door. Alright, she, you know, we was lucky she was being, you know, prosecuted and she's going to jail. Alright, but yeah, solid 20, parole at 15, best sentence. You know, that's not that bad. But no, the mammy-led jury loved Guyger so fucking much they couldn't see themselves giving her such a stiff punishment. This murderer, or at least if we believe her someone who committed manslaughter, recklessly killed a man, I mean, believe me, there's a reason why the jury selection is so important, alright? Why they that's like one of the most important things of a trial, jury selection. They knew her dumb country cooning ass would fucking fold. And boy, man, they opted for the fucking 10 years, which is the shortest murder sentence I've probably ever seen. I mean, manslaughter ranges from 5 to 15. Murder usually 20 and up. You know what I'm saying? So you can get parole in like fucking 4 years with a 10-year sentence. Guy could be out of court by 2024. I bet money on that bitch. Bet money on it. So a black judge, the police chief of Dallas is a black woman. A jury of mostly women of color. Prosecution for once was on our side. They offered a 25-year plus fucking sentence. I mean, and still the best we can come out of that was fucking 10 years. You know what I'm saying? With the family cooning as, you know, like cooning like coon. I never seen cooning like that's cooning at his fucking best. I mean, the dad, whatever his name is, Brethren John or some shit, whatever weird ass religious Caribbean name that is he got. He was at the church right after the verdict saying, "I want to be her friend someday." Nigga, what? I mean, I'm sorry. I know you're still grieving and people grieve in weird ways, and if religion guides you and helps you, but then by all means. But the visual, my brother, you gotta think about the people who fought for your son. We are all invested. This sets a precedent for future events. Alright? If there was a race war, which by the way the elites are pushing, man, and there's gonna be dumb enough people on both sides to jump right into this shit. By the way it looks, most blacks would join hands to sing Kumbaya and pray to God and read Bible verses while being shot and raped. And that sounds really familiar. This is how we got into this mess that we are in today. And no one feels sorry for yourself when you do it to yourself, especially multiple fucking times. Okay, so it's 10 foil hat time. I have 2 ways I can go with this. If we want to go left field, right? One, and most plausible and most sane out of the conspiracies, let's go back to my puzzle analogy. Half the pieces are missing, and a few pieces from various sets are thrown in the box for more confusion. Maybe Guyger was fucking John. Maybe she was fucking John. Botham John, that is. Maybe she was doing it on the low. I mean, she was a whore. That's proven fucking fact. That's Fendi facts, nigga. Fendi facts. She was a whore. She was sleeping with her married supervisor, who's a swarthy colored Mexican, by the way. You know what I'm saying? Very tan brother there. It's not far-fetched. She could have been knocking boots with John too, right? Maybe she was drunk and or high on some like pills or even fucking meth, cause she looks a little methy. I'm not gonna fucking lie. Her book and pic, she looked a little methy. But she was sexting Sergeant Rivera, who's a married man. She was looking for a booty call right up to almost a minute she killed fucking John. John being a prominent member of his church, unmarried, worked very hard at this, disguising his sexual relationship maybe with Guyger, a trashy, you know, white chick who looks methy, lives a whorish lifestyle, a cop, you know what I'm saying, just very sketchy individual altogether. Maybe the family was made aware of this relationship, maybe they knew prior to the killing, at least someone knew. Maybe the brother and dad, you know, men fucking brag. Even though they all religious and shit and crap, we know pastors, we know these people, in our family and shit. Religious people who, Christians are very hypocritical. We all know that they the most hypocritical motherfuckers. Pastor talk all of this, save it for marriage, and saying he knocking boots with every other person's wife and shit up in there. Right? Because I'm gonna go into how Christianity makes fucking how it makes black men and all kinds of men, especially men of color and shit like that. Definitely makes men of color very passive.
Who am I to not forgive someone who asked? I waited 1 year to hear I'm sorry, and I'm grateful for that.
I'm gonna tell you that. I'm gonna get into that. Maybe over some rum, he disclosed this to the men in the family. Maybe mom was out the loop. This would explain the somewhat weird familiarity and compassion for her by the family. Maybe she was rejected by Rivera that night and looked towards Botham for some D. And maybe Bo was like, nah, fall back, I'm good right now. Not tonight. And she was being impaired and shit, knocked down the door, and they fought. And maybe he was like trying to get him off of her, and she shot him. I mean, according to witnesses, you know what I'm saying, they heard the door slam open, arguing, and gunshots, alright? Followed by John asking, why'd you do this for? From what I understand about law, if you look up Mr. John's bio on Google, Wikipedia and all of that, it comes up his nationality is St. Lucian, meaning being born in St. Lucia, becoming an American citizen, which for immigrants makes them de facto national, with sovereign nationality from your own home country, allows him to be entitled to a fair trial because of his allegiance to the U.S. corporation. He's got a fair trial because Mr. John isn't here to represent himself, and his family was paid off. Yes, I'm going there. Paid off in a fair deal which punishes Guyger, but not too severe. Saves her reputation and the reputation of a very corrupt, and I'm gonna say that too, very corrupt Dallas Police Department. It looks like there might be a drug problem in that department that a Guyger would probably have brought to light if the truth got out. And these are all speculations and allegations I'm making right here. Okay, these are not facts. I don't know this to be true, but I'm just, you know, as a dude who's just been around the corner, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying this is what it seems like. You know, hypothesis here, purely hypothesis, right? The second and most out there take on this is that it was all basically hoax. Like how I feel about the Nipsey Hussle case, how I feel about Trayvon Martin. I don't think these events are all real. I believe a lot of them are staged. And this is going to go way above most people's heads. Most people, I don't have a big, base here. So most of y'all pretty much understand what I'm saying here. But for other people, you know what I'm saying, it's going to go above their heads. But they're crisis thespians. Because I can't say words that's going to trigger on YouTube. So we don't call them, we all know what thespian is, right? Thespian is an actor. Alright? Thespian is someone who loves to perform. Okay? So, crisis thespian. Live action role playing. LARP. Alright, for y'all video game heads out there, live action role playing. And I think about half of our major historical events have been LARPs. And then, once again, it's live action role playing. Alright, I gotta make sense of it all, so you can call me crazy, but I don't give two fucks. This is what it is. We are slaves now. Our ancestors was free. We are slaves now. Everybody. It's black, white, Hispanic, Chinese. I don't give a fuck where you came from. You here, you a slave now. We live in a controlled simulation, right? Where real life blends with controlled simulation. Again, it's gonna go above a lot of motherfuckers' heads. Yahuwah can't reach his chosen, his firstborn, his jewels, the Los Niños de Dios, or Los Niños Indios, the children of God, his Indians, his copper-colored Aboriginal Americans, right? Us. Those so-called Black Americans, those so-called Hispanics, those who they tell came from Africa, where in my last video I proved that a lot of these white people came from Africa as the slaves, because everything is told in reverse, just like Dean Calloway has been telling us. Alright? And if you look hard enough, and I'm glad he doesn't give all the juice because it forces you to research for yourself. He said whites came here as slaves, but he don't elaborate. And he said they came from Africa, but he don't elaborate, you know what I'm saying, all the way. Well, I built off of that hit, and I thank that brother for that, alright? Because that makes me a better person, and makes me able to do what I'm doing right now. Anyway you face it, anyway you face it, you couldn't see the act being played in court. You're done. If you can't see that act being played in court, you're done. Because it's all an act. They're all players. Playing roles, right? Live action role playing, as I said before. I will now host. Every event, it's like, that's not even that far-fetched. Any which way, if you believe the official story, or one of my left field stories, you know what I'm saying, hopefully you'll agree with maybe one of them. The family got paid for their role because the visuals all that matters. Some people are more disturbed by the Coon TV, the Coon Court TV that everybody put on in court. You know what I'm saying? I mean, wonder why she only got a light census, or even question all the inconsistencies that don't fit in this case. It all is just a distraction, maybe from the sloppy fake performance. And it seems like either they're getting sloppy or we're getting smarter. The best way to support Action News Network is to body that like button, share this shit. We're not a breaking news network. We tend to let the official story play out. Then we'll do an investigation and put my commentary on the events, add a left field alternative angle. You know, a little something for you to chew on, you dig? For Yahuwah, Allah, the Most High, and his children, one love to my Lost Indians, all the Aboriginal blacks of the North and South mainland of the Americas and the American islands of the Caribbean, and all the copper-colored Aboriginal diaspora of Shem. Our Adam, the father of our race, and that's a worldwide race. We will unite, and we will be glorious again.